miracles happen. I am live. What's going on, everyone? Welcome to the first live stream for NVP. Nerdic Viking presents. I barely have a grasp on the technology, but we are going to try and make a go of this. First up, how's everybody doing on this Tuesday? It has been a rough few weeks for us Gen Xers. We lost Ozzy. We lost the Hulkster. We lost Malcolm Jamal Warner. And people aren't talking enough about Malcolm. Like, I grew up in Philly, but Malcolm Jamal Warner was brother Theo to us. It didn't matter if you were white, black. We grew up on the Cosby Show. Just morals and values. I mean, Bill Cosby was the dad. I know, no one turns out perfect. You can say the same thing about Hulk Hogan. But when you look at Malcolm, man's in Costa Rica, saves his daughter from drowning. And, man, to go out like that is just unbelievable. I feel so bad for the man's family. But, yeah, it's like Brother Theo when it hits you. Ozzy, Lady Valkyrie was just in tears. I was actually mowing the grass, and she calls me up, and she's like, "You're not going to believe this. Did you hear?" I'm like, "What?" And she's like, "Ozzy died." I'm like, "Ozzy died? Ozzy can't die. Like, he's going to live forever." Just, come on. He's should be well preserved by now. But yeah, it's been crazy for us. It has been a brutal few weeks. But it's also been brutal in the movie industry. Man, the theaters are taking a beating. No matter what you think of DC or Marvel or woke culture or cancel culture, it comes down to the movie theaters. For a decade now, I've been servicing theaters. Over a decade. Wow, it's been like 15 years. And seeing the industry almost die out a few times, and then watching what happened to COVID and this comeback, and it hasn't been the same. But they need these today, especially they need these billion-dollar films. You have to remember, like pre-COVID, when ticket prices were half of what they are today, and they could rely on people and families and walk-up traffic, it was a good time for them. I mean, popcorn wasn't insanely priced like it is now. It was bad, but that's where they make their money. People don't understand, like, when theaters, they don't make a ton of money off these movies like they used to. If you remember local theaters, if you're my age, there was a local theater like every few blocks, and they would run like re-released movies, or they would have something 20 months in. Like, you could go a year later and see Star Wars again. It was a crazy time. But you paid next to nothing. There was midnight showings. It was a great time to be alive for the movie industry. And now the numbers have just cratered. They had to increase prices due to a horrible turnout from people. But at the same time, the movie quality has just crashed. And I mean, you can see Marvel held up the box office for the most part for a decade, up until Avengers Endgame. And then after that, it was game over. They haven't put out anything good since. And I would argue Fantastic Four, which we're going to talk about, is probably the best thing they put out since, I'm going to say, Infinity War. Endgame is not my favorite movie. Personally, I think this whole thing should have ended at Infinity War, and they could have rebooted. Endgame just introduced too many problems, and as you can see in the last couple of years, it hasn't shook out at all. None of them have paid any dividends, and they have been hemorrhaging money. And if you look at the company in charge of them, Disney, they're hemorrhaging money on Marvel, and they already destroyed Star Wars. I mean, you can argue Andor's good, but it's on their own streaming service. That's part of the problem that WB is going to run into with Superman. There's no licensing to sell. WB, Max, DC, it's all the same thing. And I can't see them licensing out Superman to Disney Plus or Netflix. They're going to want to keep it on their own service. And physical media sales are in the garbage. But, like, thankfully, I mean, there's 4K for collectors. Like, I make a point, I don't know, like, how you guys are into physical media collection, but you could do really good with building a 4K UHD. You can pick these films up $20, $10, 50 during the Amazon Prime days. They were running buy two get one free for $10 a piece. 50th anniversary for Jaws, $12. Nosferatu, Sinners, can't wait for that one. That great film. Anyway, I'm getting off track. Elon Musk has that new cafe in California. I believe that has a drive-in too. That's something we are sorely missing. Drive-ins, man, I would go to a drive-in a couple nights a week. There's no better date night than just going up, grabbing a burger, some popcorn, a hot dog, whatever, chilling out with your wife or your girlfriend or your kids, sitting on the hood of a car and watching a movie. They just don't have it. We had one out by us that closed, now I'm dating myself, probably 15, 20 years ago. And up until the day it closed, it was still busy. And it was closed down to build a flea market. It's hard to explain. I mean, the generation now doesn't even know this stuff. And I'm waiting for the retro feel to come back. Like this, you know how everything old is new again? It's getting about that time that drive-ins really do make a comeback. They're cheap to operate. And they can run movies that are 10 years old, 20 years old. Who wouldn't want to go see a Star Wars, an original New Hope, in the theater or in a drive-thru right now? I'd go. And man, it's just such a good time. We don't have that anymore. Little neighborhood theaters, like I was saying, are just gone. So today, you have, 4,100 and something screens. You'll see, like, the main releases. Superman is on in Fantastic Four. But they take spots from each other. Superman dropped like 300 theaters when Fantastic Four came out. And so it's one stealing from the other, stealing from the other. And it's brutal when it happens to see this because the theaters are suffering. They aren't going to be able to survive much longer. And part of me thinks this is the Hollywood plan to drive out the theaters and go straight to streaming, or to drive out the theaters and then buy them up. And see, I wouldn't be surprised if we saw Netflix cinemas, Disney cinemas in a few years. Because then they can control the pricing, they can control everything about it and what media they carry. Like, Superman was out before Fantastic Four. As soon as Fantastic Four comes out, it starts losing all its screens. And whether you like a movie or hate a movie, you still should be able to see it in the theater you want to. If you wanted to go see Superman in IMAX, you got to hunt around at certain times now. You're not going to see that film in every theater it was a couple weeks ago. And part of that is Disney, because Disney is well paid up with the theaters to where they will get priority cinemas, they will get priority screens, they will get priority formats every single time. But let's get into it. I saw Superman broke $503 million at the box office. That's really good for a movie that's done less than half of its money coming internationally as opposed to domestic. That doesn't really happen, but you're starting to see it more and more. The international market is just dropping off. And if you've been following social media, Superman has had such a massive hype around it that the word of mouth isn't even good on this movie on the street, but you go on social media, you think it is the most incredible thing. You have your gun people, you have your Snyder bros, it doesn't matter. They're at each other's throats right now. But the narrative is being pushed, and that is driving hype for people to see this movie. And then they're coming out and saying, well, they got to enjoy it because social media will slam you if you don't. I did the box office bombs when I reported just the numbers on Superman. And if you haven't checked out that video, go take a look at the comments. They are crazy. I've gotten called istophobe, isms, Snyder bro. Of course you get that one. I can't stand Snyder. And what I don't understand is how people actually think streamers like Zack Snyder. Dude's a tool. He is an absolute tool. He completely tanked a charity stream, and that's it. That is it. It's one and done. And then you have James Gunn, which has been trying to trying to repeat the success of the first Guardians of the Galaxy. So he keeps remaking the same movie, same movie. If you look, and I find this fascinating, if you look at Superman and you look at Fantastic Four, it's almost like the same story treatment in two different universes. They have so many of the same elements throughout. It makes you wonder if there was like a vision board up in Marvel headquarters that James Gunn had gotten a peek at years ago and turned around and said, you know what, that sounds like I could do something with it. Because, in, 2017, James Gunn was handed Superman and he turned around, I can't do it. I don't know how to write for Superman. And finally, he got a big job offer and figured out how to crack it through of a bad dog. A dog he didn't like. So he put it as the central character to a Superman movie. And surprisingly, $503 million at the box office, it's still doing decent. And I mean, this movie, I gave it a 4. You can like the movie if you like the movie. It's not made for me. It's not really made for my generation. Like Christopher Reeve, George Reeves. These are my generation. Dean Cain. Brandon Routh, I think, did a good job. And he has gotten nothing. Like, no one even mentions him anymore. And that had a great scene when the plane was coming down and he caught it in the middle of the ball game. That was an insane scene. And we haven't really seen anything with Superman since then. I know everybody's going to point to Man of Steel, this, that. And sorry, Superman 2025 is still not beating it, and I don't think it's ever going to beat it. It's, what is it? The new one's at $292 million domestically, and the Man of Steel actually finished at $291. So as of now, they're almost exact. But if you figure in, and this is what everybody gets mad about, if you figure in and adjust for inflation, Man of Steel made almost $1 billion. It made like $928 million. And I am not going to say Man of Steel was a good movie. I'm not saying that. Just comparing apples to apples. People like to do that. But even in today's money, it's like 600 and something million was the adjustment for Man of Steel. 668 million it made, which equals about 928 million today. Those numbers, that they are what they are. Like them, love them, hate them. They're just numbers. Don't take offense to them. But with 502 million right now, it's still 100 and what, 50, 55, 56 million away from beating Man of Steel, and it's 200 million minimum from even breaking even. This is a bad sign for DC, because what do they have coming up? They have Clayface, which I think they said the budget's like around 50 million, 60 million, somewhere in that area. If they do it cheap and it's good, great move. But then what do you got after that? Supergirl. And we got our taste of her in Superman. That Millie Alcock's great. She's beautiful. She looks the part. But I just don't see James Gunn being able to land a character like that when he can't even do Superman. But it's nuts. what's happening with Superman. I kind of got to skip over it and move on. I've talked so much Superman lately. Besides for the cast, which I love, I just like to see a do-over. I mean, we saw what? Zack Snyder's Man of Steel. We saw his Superman. We saw James Gunn's Superman. I'd like to see Mark Miller's Superman. Like Mark Miller, I heard him talking about Superman, and he's like, "Oh yeah, I could do that. I could write that," and I know he could. But in today's world, the way things are, you can't spend $500 million to make a film and expect to make a profit. That's what they're running into more and more. They want to make a profit, but they're spending way too much money. I understand, and I bet you the budget for Superman, why it is so high, is that they were filming Peacemaker at the same time. They were probably filming scenes for Supergirl. So I wouldn't be surprised if the budgets for them actually seem really low because they filmed a lot of that under Superman's budget, which would be the smart thing to do. So this might not be as big of a financial loss for DC, but it's not a good way to start off a universe on. You can't build a universe on a failure. This needed to be a $1 billion movie out of the gate. If it would have at least, I mean, it's at 500. If it was at 750 right now, yes. What hurt this movie? International, you can say, oh, one of the major copes that you hear now is the anti-America sentiment. I'd argue it's the anti-American messaging built into Superman. No truth, justice in the American way. Superman's not super manly. So you're left with Soy Man getting his half-calf latte at Starbucks, and it's a Gen Z Superman for a TikTok generation. That's what it is. They're not going to be watching my channel. They're not going to be watching a serious film. This is what they consume. Content fast, and it's gone. It's out the door. Now, switching gears over to Fantastic Four, this one's pretty fresh in my mind. I like this movie. And the problem with liking this movie is I had a chance to go screen it early. I chose to mow my lawn. I said that in like a past video, but it's the truth. I figured I had no excitement for it. And the opposite was true with Superman. I was like, you know what? This could be good. So I was really disappointed coming out of the theater. And Fantastic Four, I went in expecting just Marvel slop. And I wanted more of it. I mean, to me, originally I gave it like an 8. But that's a very... That 8 has a lot of caveats to it. That 8 is... It is in its own contained story, in its own contained universe. If they had one cameo or one tie-in to the MCU, this would have dropped from an 8 to a 6 for me. This was a comic book movie. It wasn't really a superhero movie. It was a very traditional Jack Kirby comic book movie. And I liked that. The only thing I think it really fell apart was in the last third, and that's where I'm like between a 7.5 and an 8. Because of that, Marvel seemed to shy away from it at the end. Now, I know they did a lot of editing and cut this film down, and I think they needed to trust the formula a little bit more. Now, we really don't know what they cut out. We know it was a lot with John Malkovich, but it didn't test well. It ruined the flow. And Fantastic Four had a really good flow to it. I enjoyed it. My theater enjoyed it. And coming out, I asked a few people, what did you think of the movie? And they're like, well, I'm surprised by it. Who would have thought that they could actually restrain themselves and make a decent film? And that's not what I expected from Marvel. I mean, one of the biggest arguments that you get is the female Silver Surfer. And my rebuttal to that is, if it was Nora and Rad, we would be pitchforks, with our torches going to Disney headquarters. Yeah, yeah, that's actually true in the chat. It's like Marvel likes money again. Yeah, that's exactly how I felt about this movie. They like, we just need a little win. And if this was a reboot for their universe, a complete reboot, if we didn't know Doomsday was what, 2 years away? I think it's going to be longer. I think they're going to punt it to the next spring. I mean, they punted it to what, December, and now they're going to punt it again. Rebecca Romaine just did an interview where she said she filmed some of her stuff, but she doesn't know if she's going to be filming more because the script's not done. Well, that's I know Marvel makes changes on the flies. They always have, but it works. They were able to constrain it down enough that it worked. Now they're just ad-libbing everything, and it shows. I mean, you got what came out that was good? Deadpool and Wolverine, not a Marvel movie, not an MCU movie. Spider-Man, No Way Home, again, not a Marvel movie. And you can argue, I would accept the argument of Guardians 3 being a Marvel movie, but it was also a holdover from a better time. That movie would have been out a lot sooner if it wasn't for James Gunn's extracurricular activity tweets. I'm not getting into it. I don't like the guy. I don't have any respect for him. Whatever. Do with it what you will. But with Fantastic Four, they needed to lean more into Reed's stretching power. And one of the comments I saw from Marvel was, it looked goofy. That's fine. It can look goofy. That's a comic book. Comic books can be serious, but they can look a little goofy. We can accept that. The only thing I can't accept is Baby Franklin. I don't know. Did anybody else have the worst uncanny valley from that baby? It is just, no, I couldn't do it. As soon as I saw it, Lady Valkyrie completely just was, no, I can't do that. But where was I at? The end of the film, the final third. They toned the colors down. They didn't make it as big as they could have. Yeah, he was absolutely creepy. What happened to Marvel's strategy? Yeah, exactly. What happened to Marvel's strategy? Oh, you know what? That actually reminds me of something I was going over. I was talking to a buddy of mine. We were gaming online. We were playing Marvel Rivals. And a couple of us were in our headsets. And we're talking about superhero fatigue. And it hit me. We're sitting here playing Marvel Rivals, talking about how cool the game is, talking about superhero fatigue. So no, and what happens? When you're talking about a movie, you see a bad Marvel film, you talk about the better times. You don't talk about Jaws. You don't talk about Star Wars. You go right to another comic book film. And this is exactly what the fandom has always done. And that's something that Marvel and DC and Disney have to figure out. And look at Doctor Who. Without the fandom, you have nothing. Rings of Power, Amazon's butchered. I'm going to save the Harry Potter series for next week. And I just, some of the casting choices there are going to kill that show. I'm going to reserve judgment until it comes out, but we'll save that for down the line. But they're bringing in, with Marvel, they're casting directors instead of hiring on experience. If you've been following the news, especially today, Starfleet Academy from Paramount Plus, they dropped a trailer for that, and they were talking to some of the writers. Well, writers don't have any experience. None whatsoever. They don't know anything about Star Trek. They don't know anything about that world, so they're just writing a social experiment, putting characters in that don't make any sense. The fandom is rejecting every single thing these people are putting out. Every time. Doctor Who's dead. Dead. They're not going to be able to reboot this 5 years, maybe 10. Doctor Who is a perfect example of how you can do everything right and get back your original audience and then build an entire new fandom on top of that audience. And that's a lot of fun. It was good. And then what happened? Jodie Whittaker, who I will argue, you could have had a female doctor. You could have. If the writing and everything was good. If the stories were good. And then going right into Ncuti Gatwa and all their comments, that it's over. It's not coming back. Star Trek's not far behind it. Star Wars is already dead and buried. The next thing they're going to end up doing, Mandalorian and Grogu? How well do you think that's going to do in the theaters? And if it does well, it's still a one-shot. It's one-shot done. There's nothing after it. They had a chance. They had Carl Weathers when he was alive. They lost that. They had Gina Carano. She could have carried a series. They fired her. Well, this is what they're left with. And now, with Marvel, we're seeing a lot more of the exact same thing. Fantastic Four. I wanted more. 15 minutes. Give me 15 minutes. Put another 10 into the end, 5 minutes earlier on, and it would have been a solid, really solid movie. But like I said, my rating is conditional upon nothing changing. If they would have showed Robert Downey Jr.'s face under the hood with Franklin, that would have been it. Movie would have dropped right to a 6. But self-contained as it was, I have to take it like that. And I liked it. It's what we've all been asking for. A comic book movie with nothing attached to it and just being able to enjoy it. And now, what do they got? A Spider-Man movie coming out in 2 years that everything about it's already leaked. They're going to have Savage Hulk and the Punisher in it. And how well do you think that's going to do? Then after that, we have Doomsday, which is a cameo fest. And like I said, Rebecca Romijn said the script's not even done, and they're 3 months into filming this movie. What do you think it costs to do that? I mean, the Russos coming back and Robert Downey Jr., that is an entire movie budget. That's like 5 Godzilla minus ones just for an actor and 2 directors. They can't win. Maybe they were leaving space for another sequel. I hate Pedro Pascal. I hate him. But he's a good character actor. If he took a break from some other things and they were said, okay, we're going to pick this up in its own self-contained universe and do another movie prior to Doomsday to flesh this out even more, great. I would argue it makes sense. They could do a prequel movie on this universe. They have enough time. They could squeeze something in there that didn't affect this movie. I would say my biggest problem with it is really that the Fantastic Four is so comic booky. I know that sounds weird, but your average normie doesn't know the Fantastic Four beyond, the old Jessica Alba movies and Chris Evans. And tell me that wasn't nice, seeing Johnny Storm actually be a scientist and intelligent as opposed to being a mimbo like Chris Evans was. Now, mind you, those movies were fun, but this one nailed everybody's... They did everybody right. Side note on this one, because I'm a 3D printer, for those of you that have actually been following me for a long time, I got into 3D printing just before COVID. And guy I used to deal with all the time, one of the best dudes out there. Frank from Frankly Built actually worked with, I believe it's CTK, to design the Herbie for the blue carpet at the premiere. And I need to get those files. I'm building one of these things. It's incredible. It's so much fun. I'll get into printing in a little bit. But I already have a massive pile of shame. I mean, you can see I have my Mr. Bones up behind me here. There's my Star Boost armor. That one needs to be finished. It's Servo Skull. I have a lot, and I'm actually working. I just resin printed out a full Reaver Titan. Oh wait, I'm not allowed to say that anymore. A Lever Righton. A Lever Righton for Gorehammer 41,000. If you get my drift. I got to see how bad it is. I heard they shut down Galactic Armory, and they were some nice helmets. It's a shame. But now they're going through Joy Toy, and they're going to be doing their own thing. Wow, I am skipping all over the world today. I can't keep up with it all in my mind. There's just so much to talk about. With SDCC, I was going to talk about some of the Hasbro reveals for SDCC. Their booth was incredible. I was looking at the TFW 2005 forums. Those guys are really on top of everything. They're fantastic. I have to put together a nice slideshow and presentation for them. It really deserves it. But some of the stuff Hasbro's going to be coming out with is nice. I haven't done a Transformers stream in a while. I need to get back to that. There's a couple. There's one guy in particular that I really would like to collaborate with. We're working it out now to do like a weekly Transformers stream, and that would be a lot of fun to accomplish. So we'll see how that shakes out in the next couple weeks. I'm also going to get back into doing the 3D printing streams. There is just, I still have 15 printers going, 2 resins, just trying to keep up. But if you know what piles of shame are, my friends, if you print, you know it doesn't stay contained for long. You don't have a print studio, you have a print house. Your stuff goes everywhere. I mean, besides for the heads, I have a full B1 Battle Droid body over there. I have a Pit Droid over there. I have an Iron Man armor over there. I have an IG-88 over there. It's insane. But this is what happens when you're a printer. Things go crazy. Wow, I am sweating like crazy. It is so hot in here. Air conditioning was making too much noise, so I killed that down. The other night, I wanted to talk about this one. I watched Happy Gilmore 2. And that movie was really damn good. It's not Happy Gilmore 1. It's not just a stupid sequel. It has some really good messaging in it. Like, the first time I watched it, I sat back and said, it was consumable. And pretty much forgot about it by the next morning. But that's what those movies are. You consume them and, it's like a meal. The next morning it's gone. But my Lady Valkyrie said, why don't you watch it again? And she was talking to me about some things about it. I was like, all right, let's watch it again. So I actually watched it where I would talk, so I'd be able to talk about it. And I got to say, man, Sandler put a lot of heart into that movie. What he did about the alcoholism and recovery, I really respect that it was in there. Because he could have just shied away from it. I mean, a lot of people don't like to talk about it, and there was a whole issue with him. And then, Farley, and then when Farley died, he had his issues. But, God bless him, man, he's in recovery. More power to you. But to include that and expose yourself in a movie like that so publicly, it's good messaging to be out there. And we really don't see enough of that nowadays, especially in a comedy. It had Every cameo in the world. A lot of them you wouldn't recognize. Most of them are everybody's kids. Uh, Eminem, that was too funny. If you haven't seen it, I don't want to. I actually don't want to ruin the movie because a lot of people haven't seen it yet. It's streaming. I think it was on Amazon Prime. So if you got Amazon Prime, just go check it out. It's great for a laugh. We'll talk about it another day. Maybe I'll do it. We'll talk about it on Thursday or Saturday's stream, and we'll do a full review on it. But I don't like to put out my reviews right away. I waited 2 weeks for Superman to kind of give it room to breathe and benefit of the doubt. It was a great nostalgia movie. Yeah, it really was. Seeing Sandler as a kid, and then look at myself like, wow, damn, I got old. Because I just hit 50, what, 12 days ago. So now I'm in that half century club. So you start looking back at all, Netflix. Netflix, thank you. It, Happy Gilmore 2 is a Netflix film. Just go enjoy the. Just sit down and watch it. It's dumb fun. If you like the original, you're gonna like this. It's not. It's not as silly and pointless as the other ones were. It has a very nice contained story in it. You're going to like it. I'll get into that more down the line. But really, there was a lot of cool tributes in it to a lot of the people we lost. Thank you. Thank you for the birthday wishes. Uh, there was a lot of tributes. Man, it would have been nice to see Ozzy in there. And I'm sure Sandler's probably saying the same thing. But the the heart, that's something we're drastically missing. That's really the Fantastic Four had a decent amount of heart in it. That was kind of surprising. Superman, I don't think had any. All right, let's stay out of that. But yeah, so if you haven't checked out Happy Gilmore 2, get into that one. I had a good time with it. I think you'll have a good time with it. In fact, pin this stream and let me know in the comments if you do see it, what you thought of it. Going back for a minute, I haven't taken a look. Bear with me. My screen share is acting extremely funky. I just reset up my entire system today to just be able to do this. So I'd be surprised. I can't wait to watch it back and see how it actually came out. Uh, Fantastic for, but I did update it a bit. 216 million. Wow. I wonder how word of mouth is going to carry this movie. There's a decent amount of buzz on it. It's just being swallowed up by Superman. It might continue to do so. Originally, I had it not doing anything. I think it deserves more, but will it get it? I don't know. It had a lower budget than Superman. It's going to go on a D plus. That's the same thing like I was talking about with licensing. If you can't make money on the back end, you shouldn't spend so much in the front of the house. What did you think of Penguin? Scrap everything that James Gunn is doing, fire him, and build stuff in that universe. Penguin. God, who here saw Penguin? Because Penguin was phenomenal. It was one of the best. I can't call it a superhero show. It's more like a mob show along the lines of Sopranos. But it was. Man, I haven't talked about that show in a while. It is one that deserves to be talked about. I want my season 2. I really want my season 2. I'd like to see a movie. Even if it wasn't to Batman 2, I'd like to see that universe at least continue. Give it to us in shows. Give it to us in HBO movies. Do it cheaper. Gotham is not expensive. It's a character. You can set that character just like you did in the Penguin in a show. You can do it for a lot less money. Every season, do another character. The Penguin did not have the Batman in it. And it was. I don't have a flaw. It's one of the few shows I can remember that didn't have any flaws in it at all. That's something else I want to talk about. I'll get into that another time. But notate this for down the line. What do you guys think about the streaming formats? Because they're going crazy. They keep changing. Andor's release, 3 episodes, 4 episodes, 3 episodes. It doesn't make sense. Then they're dumping some shows all at once. We're waiting 3 years for 6 episodes. Look at Stranger Things. Those guys are all collecting Social Security at this point. They showed Millie Bobby Brown in the trailer. Well, they showed... oh my God, Linda Hamilton. I'm like, wow, Millie Bobby Brown is not aging well. But they're all like, what, 30-something now? You can't do this. They made 22-episode shows every year, weekly release, and then they did it all over again. Well, that was television. We're in streaming. Streaming's supposed to be better. You can't find writers, directors, producers that can do that. I mean, look, perfect example. DC. Flash. That Flash was much better on the CW. Supergirl, they did half the stories we saw in Superman better. We've seen them already. But with Fantastic Four, that was the gripe, and I forgot about that one. Doing the Coming of Galactus is a trilogy. I mean, they're what? The best 3 books in the Fantastic Four run, period, end of story. And it deserved more. So, if Marvel figures out where the fans are and actually start liking them and stop attacking us, because really, we bash them because they're crap. We don't bash them because they're good. How many of you guys have sat around in a comic book store or BSing with your friends about Superman's, design, his S design, which one you liked, for hours or days or years? Years. There's conversations that I have today that I've had 20, 30 years ago, where we're still talking about the same things, what we like, what we didn't like. The fandom is never going away, but we determine what's a success and what's a failure. And Marvel especially, with their habit of just destroying the fans nowadays and hiring all these activists, and it seems like they put these actors and actresses out on the screen just to piss people off and turn them off. I mean, look with Fantastic Four. What was the marketing going up to that? Cringe. Pedro Pascal and Vanessa Kirby all over each other. I really hope her baby daddy gets a paternity test, because I don't know how that's going to shake out in the future. It's a mess. What they're doing. Rachel Zegler, same thing. She destroyed Snow White single-handedly. Well, Disney did a lot of that themselves, but she really just she buried the film. Amanda Steinfeld, I don't remember her name at this point, from the Acolyte. That show was bombed, but no one had any problem with her besides saying, she's not really a good actress. And then what did she do? Went on The View, talked about racist fans, and dropped a diss track and got humiliated. And then you have these people just saying, the fandom, they're horrible. The fans are horrible. Well, who do you want to see watch your show? Is it the mythical modern audience? Because they're not there. They're not showing up at the box office. They're not showing up in the ratings. Why do you think we don't count tickets at the box office anymore? We don't have a good metric. France does it. Why don't we? Because then you'll actually be able to see how many people are going to the movie theaters to see a movie, or how many people are watching a television show. They rely on parrot analytics. Well, if I type on X that Superman sucks, parrot analytics is going to say, "Hey, somebody's talking about you." Doesn't matter what I said. It matters that I'm talking about you. And that's why you're seeing such bombardment on social media about, like, especially with Superman. I got to respect the grift. I mean, that they have grifted their way all the way up to $500 million. It's still losing minimum 200 million. It's break even for that movie is, with the fake numbers, what, 700 million? And with the real numbers, a billion two. No one really knows. But Fantastic Four, they have a lower budget, and the marketing was big, not as big as Superman. Superman said Barbie level marketing was his 200 million. I wouldn't be surprised if it was like 150 million. So they're probably looking at a $350 million budget too for the Fantastic Four. That means 700 million break even. I mean, those numbers are fairly accurate. We can guesstimate. You just kind of take the budget and marketing and double it, because theaters get paid. People don't like to recognize that the theaters get about 50% at a cut. Domestically, they get 50, 60, 70% internationally. We just count it as 50% to call it fair, but numbers don't lie. People do. James Gunn does. But all right, I am going to call it quits. I am going to see how this stream actually held out. I appreciate everyone for being here. Make sure to subscribe to the channel, like the video if you liked the video, and I will see you all next time.